Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time, presented by AT&T 5G. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in playoff soccer. Matt Doyle, Kalen Carr, David Goss. Round one in the books. 3 nights down, 6 games over, 14 teams down to 8. And off we go to the conference semifinals, where we've got, I got to tell you, Philly-Cincinnati. That's the huge match. El Trafico also on Thursday night, but it's all about Philly-Cincinnati on this show. Just kidding. What's up, guys? How you feeling?
Are you just kidding? Are you just kidding?
I'm not. I'm in. I'm in for Philly-Cincinnati. Got a perfect playoff bracket. Anybody else have that?
Oh,
that's why I'm in. That's a great mood here right now.
You know, Wiebe, I was gonna write a haiku to honor you because you beat me, and then I decided to follow your lead and not write the haiku. So I could write it live now on the show if you want.
Let's hear it.
Or we could just move on.
Yeah, workshop it. You got some time here.
Have one by the end of the show.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think there's going to be some moments for you. I've got a laundry list of the favorite moments of round one. So maybe during that point, that could be good inspiration for you in your poetic journey here on this show. Look, we are going to review round one of the Audi 2022 MLS Cup playoffs. Today, we'll have a full review of the weekend's conference semifinals on Friday. The schedule's a little wonky this week because of obviously the playoff schedule, but we will be talking in depth about Philly-Cincinnati and, of course, El Trafico. That's on Thursday night, FS1. So get ready for that. You have a couple days to recover from the first 3 days of the playoffs. Let's jump in. Let's not waste any time. Favorite moment of round one. Dave, I know you're working on the haiku, but I'll start with you. That way you have more time on the back end. You were all over the place, man. You were in 3 different stadiums in 3 different nights.
Can I say 3 different cities? I'm asking this to everyone because everyone has lived in the New York area.
Might be a little, maybe. Is there an element of trolling there at all, or?
I don't know. I mean,
so are you asking if you could pick your 3? Are you asking if you could pick 3 things for your one favorite thing? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm just asking a geography question.
Okay. He's saying Harrison versus
I'm workshopping my Instagram post to be like, whoa, so blessed to be able to go to all these great things. Can I say 3 cities in 3 days? It was awesome. My favorite thing was being on the ground in Montreal. Just being in Montreal. Always class. Kalen trolls me about it. Then I went back to Montreal for the first time in a while. And bring it, Kalen. Paint me as the Montreal guy. I'm in. I'm 100% sold, both on the city and on the Stade Saputo atmosphere and on Wilfried Nancy and on the team. But the biggest thing was Ismail Kone. And the play on the field, but off the field after the game, to watch a 20-year-old who was playing amateur soccer 2 years ago conduct interviews in 2 languages like a superstar, break down the game, give credit to his teammates, talk about how he can be better, be proud of himself, watch him take pictures with the young kids and sign jerseys, and then interact with his family and friends and like still be grounded in that way. And he's hugging like all of his high school friends because that's what he basically is. And they're like hitting him on the head and screaming and chanting. And he's like, I think crying with them. Like, it was amazing. He is a superstar in the making as a person and a player, and to see that firsthand was awesome.
You're gonna get a Kone Canada jersey.
You better believe it. I'm gonna get an Adidas Kone jersey.
I love how Dave was like, Kalen, paint me the Montreal guy if you must. Meanwhile, for the last 7 years on this show, nobody shuts up about Montreal less than Dave. About going to Montreal, about big in Japan, about didn't you get engaged in Montreal?
I did not get engaged in Montreal. I tried to, but the border got shut. To show you, I did not pick Montreal to win to go to MLS Cup. You did. Congratulations,
and to win. But
to show you, putting my money where my mouth is, I bought a bottle at Big in Japan, and I only have 1 year now, so I have to go back.
Whoa!
So I am trusting that I will be there for MLS Cup.
Wow! They put it behind the bars. Got your name on it.
Yeah, they write your little number. They hang it up on the ceiling.
Wait, what is this? What is
it's a Japanese whiskey bar in Montreal, and you can buy a bottle, and they'll keep it there for originally forever. And whenever you go in, you can drink it. You don't have to buy a drink, whatever. They've changed that since COVID to 1 year, and I was like, I don't know. And I was with Iron Mike, shout out to Mike Garabedian, the legend. And he was like, we'll be back here for Cup. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let's do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. He put it down.
That could be a really special full circle moment. We troop into Big in Japan.
Yep.
Dave's got his bottle on the wall.
Yep.
Treated like like
royalty.
Like royalty that we are.
Guys, if Cup is in Montreal, what are the chances that everybody who needs to have an updated passport from MLS Digital has an updated passport? Is Weeby going to be doing this show from the road? You're good?
I'm good. Yeah. Right. We went to Mexico last year. Had to get the updated passport there. Did we have to expedite it? Were we a little panicked? We were, but it actually came back quicker than we thought. So if you're in a position where you're saying, maybe I should go to Montreal, and you haven't checked your passport, go do it now.
Yeah,
I recommend.
Don't be Andrew Carlton.
I have a list of my favorite moments, so I'll just kind of sprinkle mine in as you talk about yours. Yeah, former Chiefs O lineman turned doctor, Laurent Duvray Tardif. He's now a medical resident at McGill. He quit the NFL to pursue his career as a doctor. He broke the capo stand that the Montreal Bell sits on, which is like one of the best under the radar, doesn't get talked about post-game traditions in MLS. He broke that thing. They say it weighs about a little less than a ton, that bell. He was absolutely cranking it one-armed in his Montreal jersey, going absolutely crazy after this win. That was freaking awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, Kaylin, you're up.
I'm going to go with Franco Jara. No, sorry, not Franco Jara. I
two Panenkas. How many Panenkas can you remember?
I was trying to think to myself. I was like, wait, who hit the Panenka? I was like, no, Alan Velasco. There we go. I have not slept in a while. But yeah, Velasco, I mean, just in that moment to step up after Franco Jara had already done a Panenka, and Dane St. Clair got his foot on it.
Yeah, it was almost the craziest save I've ever seen. The Jara penalty, and
which you would think if you were thinking about maybe doing that again, you're like, he almost got that one. I probably won't do that on the fifth kick, but hey, it worked. He stepped up, and it actually made me reflect back to earlier in the match or in extra time where him and Reynoso were going at it. Like the two of them were talking a bunch and had to be separated. I remember Jesus Ferreira had to kind of pull him aside to be like, what are you doing, man? Like, let's get away from him. And I was thinking the same thing. I was kind of like, yeah, man, I don't know if you really want to mess with Reynoso. You don't want to get him upset right now, right before the second extra time. And like, you're both Argentine. You're only 20 years old. I know you got a big pedigree and all that. But then I was like, oh no, he was like on one. He was feeling himself, and he showed it on the final kick. So big relief for Dallas. They had some big opportunities that they missed. I'm sure we'll go through that. And disappointing for Minnesota United, but for me, Velasco was like just that kind of like, I don't know. We saw goalkeepers come up in Stuver and Austin, but I think now I'm like, if they get another one against Stuver, will he do it again? Is he going to go for it?
A little Panenka sandwich. It's tough for Dane St. Clair. I saw like a supporter video. I think it was from the Guardians, the Beer Guardians section, that they have an actual slow-mo. Someone had the presence of mind to be like, okay, this could be the moment. I'm going to get the phone out. I'm going to put it in slow-mo. We're not going regular video here. And he has it slowed down to the part where Dane is just like waving on the ground, and Velasco has already wheeled away to go celebrate. Yeah, that took some guts.
Well, the reality of Dane St. Clair almost saving is that Velasco hits it poorly.
Yeah.
He Panenkas it to a side.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's the only reason Dane St. Clair is like, oh, I have a shot at this, which goes to the fact that he played poorly the whole game and then chose to hit a Panenka on the final PK to win it, which is that's as ballsy as you can get.
Or as crazy.
Confidence. Yeah, I aspire to that.
And like you could see St. Clair, like he went through the 5 stages of grief, and like in a second and a half, and he's like, I said it on the show last night, like that, watching him do that, watching him flail helplessly as this ball is like gently lofted above him, going 2 miles an hour, and like just can't. It's like every nightmare I've ever had. You wake up in a sweat at 3 because it's like nightmares are like the stuff where you just can't do something that's so normal, and like you just can't make it. Like that's what that looked like. Like I'm traumatized by that. Like I am traumatized on Dane St. Clair's behalf for how that game ended. That poor kid, man.
Wow, we're going through the deep mind of Doyle here and his deepest fears of getting spanked.
This was very Andrew Wiebe of you of accidentally turning this into a personal therapy session.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Did you not see? Like, I scooted forward on my chair. I'm like, now, how would you like to dig a little bit deeper into that? What's a time in your life that you felt that way, Doyle? I'll share. I'm good to do that. Would you like to have some? We could go to Big in Japan and have a good cry. Why
that's
not?
actually, hey, that sounds like a really good idea right there.
Hey, we'll put it on the docket.
Empty gas man's bottle.
Yeah,
don't even have to worry
November
about coming
4th.
Back next year, David. It'll be gone. We'll take care of it for you.
Sure. If we show up, it is not lasting. All right, Doyle. Best moment, favorite moment of round one for you.
The favorite moment is that at the end of the round, I was pleased morally and aesthetically by the 6 teams that advanced. I think in every single game, the team that played more soccer, the team that played better soccer, the team that has, I think, a better ideology and on how they want to approach the game won. And I don't know I've ever seen that before in the MLS playoffs. And this is, look, I'm not dunking on Red Bulls, Nashville, RSL, Miami, Minnesota, Orlando. Like they all deserve to be in the playoffs for how they, for what they accomplished in the regular season. But nobody but the fans of those teams can really say that this team is a ton of fun to watch. That's just how it is with those 6 teams. And the fact that, Cincinnati, the Galaxy, Austin, Montreal, NYCFC, especially, like, that was a time capsule performance from NYCFC. And then to a lesser extent, Dallas, like those 6 teams play aesthetically pleasing soccer. And I am therefore pleased to see those 6 teams advance.
Whew, that was like hey, I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed in you, sort of like,
hey man, like
we're building character here, but like for the fans of those teams, it's like only you cared.
It's like, and it hurts me because a team with Emmanuel Reynoso, who's maybe my favorite player in the league, should be more fun to watch than Minnesota United are.
I don't even. So I agree over the course of the season. From this weekend, I thought Nashville and Orlando were the most disappointing teams in their decisions of how they were going to play this game. And you could argue whether it was the best way for them to get a result or not. Those 2 teams did not show up to play soccer. And that is disappointing with the level of time those coaching staffs have had.
I mean, we're gonna get into it, but Nashville, if Nashville doesn't figure out how to replace Dax and Godoy or how to make them age backwards, they're going to be further from from title contention in 2023 than they were in 2020, because their only ability to vary who they are as a team came through central midfield. It came through having 2 veteran central midfielders, really skillful guys who, like Dax's ability to play those passes, those third line passes, into feet in the pockets, and Godoy, the counterpoint with his ability to open the field with those big left-footed switches. Like that was so essential for them to be a team that has dimensions. And that was a difference between Nashville in 2021 and the second half of 2020 and Nashville in 2022. They never had those dimensions because Dax and Godoy basically weren't 100% all season long. So we're going to get into it more later in the show, but like they have to address that. They have to figure out how to get central midfield right. I would argue that's even more important than the number 9 thing, because like if you have a great number 9 and you have a great number 10 and you have a central midfield that can't get them the ball unless it's a long ball, then you're going to play ugly soccer no matter what.
More parent-teacher conferences coming later in the show for all 6 teams that have been eliminated. Okay, Dave, you can mute your mic here. I know when I write my haikus, I have to clap for the syllables because I'm a child.
I already did it.
Yeah. Oh, you already did it? Wow, wow. I have a list here. I'm still going to go through the list. Favorite moments. Okay, so pink is the hair color of the Audi 2022 MLS Cup playoffs here. Julian Araujo, DeAndre Yedlin, and Nkosi Tafari all go with the same hue of pink. To move on, sad days for DeAndre. But pink is the hair color of the playoffs. How do you guys feel about that? Should they have conversed prior to going to their barber or hairstylist? Kaylin, you seem to have a possible opinion bouncing around in there.
No, but those would be, if we did like a golden boot draft of like a snake draft of who I would predict to go, that would be my top 3 draft picks. So I think I would dominate at this.
Probably we really need Damoduro to organize this in advance as the godfather of this genre. So I think we need Damoduro to really do some mentoring of the current crop of just dyed hairstylists in the league. Okay, the giant taco in Dallas, 12-inch from Vaqueros, apparently sold out before the game. It was truly before really probably PKs, to be honest with you, the entire highlight of that game. We'll talk more about that giant taco in a little bit. No baseball at Yankee Stadium, but they still got to see the playoffs.
Wait, for real? Are we really going to talk more about the giant taco?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, no. I have the taco jersey from last year.
Yeah,
like
I should have worn it. Buried in my pile.
Gina Miller, I apologize for
that was
better.
I just want to point out, Kaylin's from Berkeley, and Berkeley is very much a burrito town, right?
Yeah.
Like in Berkeley, like what is the name? La Mission on University that has like some of the maybe the best burrito I've ever had in the United States.
We've argued over this. I'm a Gordo's guy, but yeah, with that, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna break this down later. But I would just say,
you could do
if you have that much filling, just make it a burrito. Like, what are we doing?
Thank you.
Just wrap that thing up.
And here's the thing as well. They did wrap it up in saran wrap to keep it wrapped, so it's almost like an unedible burrito in a way, but with a crispy shell. And then the ratio is bad. Like I associate the
you made the best point. You made the best point.
It's all lettuce at the top.
Yeah, so you're taking bites out of this taco, right? And like, if you're having a real taco, you're going to get like 3 to 5 ingredients per bite. With a taco this big, you're getting like 2 at most.
Maybe, and that's if you got big mouth, large bites, embarrassing large.
Yeah. Just get 5 tacos, man. If you want to have that much taco, just get 5 tacos. Enjoy yourself.
That's actually a good point. It's a good point. But apparently they sold out of these things. Like they're super popular. Vaqueros. If MLS Cup is in Dallas, is in Frisco. 1, we're going to the National Soccer Hall of Fame. 2, we are eating giant tacos. That is,
we're going to Fifth Street Patio Cafe. We're getting chicken Alfredo pregame, like Kellen Acosta. That's how you get to the top.
That is the spot. Okay, Matias Pellegrini victory cigar. I don't know if that's petty from Nick Cushing, but like he put him in when it was over. Like Matias Pellegrini stepped on the field and the referee was like, "All right, that's the game." And of course, Matias Pellegrini is an original signing for Inter Miami, who's then loaned to NYCFC because they put him into purgatory essentially. And NYCFC at the end is like, "Yo, you see that scoreline 3-0? Watch Matias Pellegrini roll in with our colors on." They might not even keep the dude. He barely played. They just used him as a victory cigar. It was crazy. That's currently my list. I'll come back.
You don't have the double doink.
Oh wow, come on!
I don't have the double doink. Right,
that was beautiful.
Currently,
I'm waiting for like the MLS Films 15-minute deep dive on that exact play. I'm ready for it.
That was Mabika's best moment of the match, unfortunately, but we'll get into that game a little bit more. All right, as a gift to our listeners, as we break down these games more in depth, we're not starting with El Tráfico or LA. Surprise, surprise. I know you thought that would be the case. We're starting with Red Bull's Cincy.
We all my haikus, by the way.
You have one already? Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. So my first one is. It's called NYCFC for you.
Okay, hold on. We've got to work on delivery here. You're kind of stumbling into it. Like, take a breath, get yourself in a good spot. Wow us.
Electric playoffs. Suddenly happy. NYCFC list under the bracket.
Oh.
There you go. I used a random haiku generator. I put words in, and that's what they popped out.
I was going to say.
My other one I made.
I don't understand. I just don't understand.
The other one I made was lit extra time, an extensive list, crying because of the kids, which might be more weeby than the first.
Yeah, that's actually. I think there's something there. Like maybe workshop a couple words, get some rhythm into that one. But you got something.
I'll hit up Rodrigo and have him fix me.
Okay, if we'll tweet out maybe that random haiku generator, that could be fun the rest of the playoffs. Nice. Red Bull, Cincy.
Started a thing.
Yeah, come on. If you start talking about haikus, you know I'm all in.
Weeby's gonna want to add 15 minutes to every show. Just so that you can peel back the curtain here. Every week, Weeby sends at least 3 messages about new segments we should add to the show. Like this show used to be 55 minutes. We're running 95 minutes a show now. Weeby won't rest until we do 3-hour shows twice a week.
The best part on the haikus is when we get to each one and Weeby's like, why did we choose to do this? And it's like, we didn't choose to do this. You did.
I always enjoy it in the moment and afterwards, but in the process, that's where it gets, there's a grind there. Red Bulls 1, FC Cincinnati 2. It's the only upset of round 1, which is interesting because last playoffs there was like 46% upsets. I guess we could get that going forward. The numbers could equalize, etc. Red Bulls go up 1-0. Cincinnati, but who's going to deliver? Of course, it's going to be Lucho. It's going to be Vasquez. Everybody here predicted that, right? All of us.
Not me.
Predicted that. Yeah. Okay. Everybody but Doyle. What happened, Doyle?
Pat Noonan changed the game with 2 subs. He brought on Sergio Santos for Brenner, which was, I thought, a really ballsy sub to make, given how good Brenner has been, though he was very poor in this game. And then Yuya Kubo for Junior Moreno. And Noonan said it at the half. He's like, they're hurrying us, but we're hurrying ourselves. We have more time on the ball in this game than the guys seem to think. And Moreno in particular was the one struggling with it. Kubo comes in. He's not a natural central midfielder, but he's been pretty good there this year. And he starts finding a little bit of space. And if you look at the buildup to that first, there's a sequence that leads to the Lucho equalizer, the penalty. Kubo hits this beautiful cross-field left-footed switch that opens the game up and is one of the few times that they were able to get, isolation on that wing. And once they had Andres Reyes in isolation, he was not going to be able to do the job of a right back. They had been trying to go at him all game, but Red Bull's structure was really good. This left-footed switch from Kubo opened the game up. And then, 15 minutes later, Sergio Santos just dusts everybody. Brennan Vasquez buries Aaron Long, and it's 2-1. And it's, the past 3 years, you couldn't have pointed out 11 starters on 11 starting caliber players on FC Cincinnati. This year they kept so much of the same roster, and Noonan did such a good job of getting more out of guys. Obviously Vasquez, Lucho, Brenner, but also guys like Yuya Kubo, who was out of his depth for a year and a half in MLS. And then Chris Albright did such a phenomenal job of bringing in difference makers, Nobodo and Miazga being the 2 big ones. But that Sergio Santos deal, whatever you paid for him, they paid a lot of allocation cash for him. Worth it. It's officially now worth it because he was the difference in your first ever playoff game, which became your first ever playoff win in large part because of him. So the job that they have done there, building a roster, building a style of play, getting more out of the, guys who are already there, building up their young players. It's phenomenal. It's one of the great 1-year turnarounds in league history. And it's not necessarily going to end on Tuesday because, guys, they've played better against Philadelphia than they played against anyone else all season. They dominated Philly in both those games. This one could end up being an all-time legendary MLS playoff game.
I thought Red Bull was actually in pretty good shape. I thought the first half went their direction as far as it just being, the way the Red Bulls play. It was pretty choppy. There weren't a lot of connection points between that big 3 from FC Cincinnati. Brenner was basically invisible. And then you see Lewis Morgan just absolutely crush a ball. And we talked about him in the pregame about saying who's going to be the guy, where does the goal come from, who's going to find that special moment. And Lewis Morgan it was an incredible strike. But then you look up and you're like, wait a minute, where's Lewis Morgan at?
What did happen?
Where is this guy?
Have we ever figured that part of it out? When he got injured, how he got injured?
The last thing I heard during the game, talking to people on the Red Bull staff, they had said a minute or two before he had sort of started walking and was pointing a bit and not closing. And they think he was trying to figure it out. And then whatever it was, groin, hamstring, whatever it was, he had already felt it. And he was trying to figure out if he could play through it. And then on the strike, he realized he couldn't, but he scored the goal.
That's incredible. Wow. That he's I think I'm injured. Laser beam.
Yeah.
Okay, I am injured. That's
he's
nuts.
I got to pull up. I just got to shoot this.
Kobe.
But yeah, I mean that hurt them because he was, I think, pretty much one of their only genuine threats. And then, the other part was just they didn't have a different gear to their game. And this is what we've said about the Red Bull for a long time is they can't actually put their foot on the ball and keep it and play with a lead. And so the possession was not there. They couldn't find any passages of time where they could keep control of the ball. They continued to rush things. And then, they end up getting beat on their own throw-in. And Kyle Duncan comes in and takes a quick throw-in to Edelman, and the two are not on the same page. It immediately turns around. The clearance goes right to Sergio Santos. They continue to pick on that right now.
Not right. He dusts Dylan Nealis while Brandon Vasquez is dusting Aaron Long.
Yeah, I barely saw Nealis. It looked like it went right to Santos. Beats him. And then you look on the other side. I was so focused on Santos that at first glance, I didn't even see what Vasquez had done. Because I was just staring at Santos' speed, and I was like, oh, look, Vasquez is open in the box. And then on the replay, I was like, oh, no, he was behind Long when that play started as well, too, and just completely leaves him in the dust. Good little finish there, getting his feet set and getting his feet right for the finish. And for his first playoff game, that was huge. But yeah, I agree, Doyle. It was a big shift to drop Brenner, who was your leading scorer and coming in off a hat trick, and he just wasn't up for it on the day. But I thought the right move ultimately, and disappointing for Red Bull because I felt like they had a good position, but then just didn't have the pieces. Maybe they missed Caceres. You could say that, but I still feel like even with him, it's not the same as far as passing the ball or even running the game out. And you looked even as the experience went on, it looked like FC Cincinnati were the more experienced team. Ray Gaddis came on, was going to the corner, took a yellow card, like all those little things when it comes to a playoff. That's what I always enjoy watching in these, of just those tiny little margins where it's just a throw-in. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, season's over. And that's what happened to the Red Bull.
Yeah. It was interesting. Listen, they came into the game. I thought they played well in the opening 20, 30 minutes because of the change from Struber to go 4-2-3-1. But I also, then you see the need to have Andres Reyes on there. And it's like, you're not getting any width and there's no one who can hit across. And it was clearly all for second balls and knockdowns, but it just felt like a coach coming into a playoff game, not feeling like his team was playing at their best. So trying to change something before it was an issue in the playoff game. And that's, I think, frustrating for Red Bull fans to say, like, let's just play the way we've been playing. And I don't have the exact numbers. I think Eric Friedlander's done some pretty good stuff on, like, Struber's almost never won an MLS game playing a back four. There's something about the way he sets them up in which they are completely unsuccessful. And last year it was because of injuries. Probably they didn't really have center backs, and so that's why he went to the back five, and Tom Edwards was good for them. But you saw it again from them, and I think it was panic before you even got in the game, which shows you a little bit of the issues with the team. And Struber has talked about over the last 2 years, like the ceiling on the squad, if they don't have the same resources that other teams have. And what we've seen from the list is spending isn't everything in MLS, and they tried with Klimala, so that was the one they took a risk on, and it didn't work out for them.
And Luquinhas.
But Luquinhas has been good. I go to when Brenner's bad, Lucho's good, and he can lean on him. When Brandon Vasquez is bad, he can lean on Brenner. You need more than one piece for most of these teams, and also, there's no option there for Luquinhas to lean on.
Is Luquinhas at Lucho's level?
No, he has one assist since May, David. Like he has not been good.
He's playing through balls to Elias Manuel.
No, he's not playing. He's not playing through balls. That's the thing. Like all the underlying numbers as well say that.
For sure, but that's also not their game. They're playing higher up the field. I just would say if there was more options, or for Lewis Morgan. Like Lewis Morgan's a high level attacker in MLS, so that's fine, but it's just them.
I agree with that, but it's also the system, right? Like at this point, are we not bumping up against the ceiling of what can be accomplished playing this brand of soccer? Haven't we seen it enough in the playoffs, including back in 2017, 2018, with higher level talent? Guys like Dax McCarty, Sasha Kljestan, Bradley Wright Phillips, Tyler Adams, guys who were among the very best in the league. And they had some great playoff runs. Great playoff games anyway. They never had a great playoff run, right? Like, is there not at this point a preponderance of evidence that says in the playoffs, when teams are more locked in, more energetic, more risk averse, that a game plan built around capitalizing on the mistakes of your opponents is going to have a lower ceiling?
So is Philly not going to do that?
Yeah, but doesn't Philly have better attacking talent?
Philly has better attacking. Philly does not. Philly
out.
does not only do that. No, Philly is much closer to what we've seen from, say, the 2017, 2018 era Red Bulls. Like, those teams would actually use the ball a little bit.
And by the way, they still have the same questions about MLS Cup too. It's not like they've answered those questions.
For sure, but they went to the Eastern Conference Final last year, probably unexpected. Whatever. I would say that no, it hasn't been disproven. I think what's been disproven is the Red Bulls' entire ethos that the system can outplay or outdo individuals and spending has been disproven. There needs to be some level of both, because one, they always say, oh, no, we'll find pieces that will fit our system under the radar, and that's how we'll beat other teams. And then the other was, you just talked about Dax, Sasha, Bradley Phillips, and Tyler. They didn't all play at their peak together because they had to get rid of Sasha. It had to be done. They had to get rid of Dax. It had to be done because the system was God, and that was what mattered. And the next piece was ready to go, and they had to get rid of them to get assets for them, rather than what you just said, which was Sergio Santos could never play a game for Cincinnati after this year, but it wasn't money wasted because they won a playoff game. You put assets where you want them to win. Red Bulls have never sold out to win MLS Cup. So I think there is an element that it could all still work, but not to the ethos that Red Bulls has built from their DNA top to bottom.
Can I ask this question? And I asked it, I don't even know where at this point. We're doing so many shows. By the way, if you haven't been watching the postgame shows or checking them out on YouTube, go do that. After every single night of the playoffs, we are there, final whistle, breaking it all down, highlights, everything you need to know, interviews, etc. I mused aloud, like, will Gerhard Struber be back? I don't know. And it kind of got like, oh, no, he'll for sure be back. Dave, I'm curious because you were there. You have more of a connection to the club than I think we do.
Yeah, I think it's a huge question mark. My understanding, and I'm not 100% sure, is that his family doesn't live here. So it's not like they are extremely tied. He's obviously not from here. I think we've seen in his decision to come here unexpectedly that he's conscious of what his career path wants to be, where he wants to go, and he's willing to take risks and make unique moves or make moves to get there. So I don't think there's a guarantee. And I think there's a frustration from him about the ceiling that is put on this team. And he feels like it's internally imposed rather than forced on them because, and we've heard it from every coach in MLS who doesn't feel like they spend as much as other teams, that they want to spend more in whatever the pieces, the prospects they want. And so I think there's a very good possibility that either he feels like he's reached his ceiling and he's been in conversations or at least rumors with big jobs around the world, which why would he turn them down? It doesn't feel like he came out of this. And I'll give you the flip side. Phil Neville last night said, we're close. This is what we need to do. This is like everything was not, this could be the future. It was, this is our future, and explaining how they get there and how close they are. I don't think that's the conversation with Gerhard Struber. For Struber, it's almost like you have to go back to the drawing board. Does he want to do that here in New York? Or is it, okay, it was 2 years. I brought the club back to its DNA. And now it's time for me to figure out my next adventure, my next journey.
I don't see any reason in moving on from him. Like what if, as long as the system stays the same.
But you're talking about it from Red Bull's side. I'm talking about it from Struber's side. Is this what he wants to do? Is this where he wants to be?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea what that.
But he's the asset in all this. Like, I don't know how idyllic the Red Bull job is to people around the world, where it's like, oh my God, we could have anyone. We don't care. Where Struber is getting connected to Premier League jobs this month, and obviously has a background in Austria and Germany.
Big question.
If he's managing in the Premier League, I will be surprised.
Same.
All right, let's talk Philly Cincy. Red Bulls fans, hey, another offseason. You guys are used to those. Big questions. This is normal. No biggie. I'm sure you won't. There will be no gnashing of teeth on Twitter from Red Bulls Twitter, etc. It'll be very calm, collected, composed. Union Cincinnati, 8 p.m. Eastern, FS1 Fox Deportes on Thursday, getting things started in the conference semifinals, of course, later that night. El Tráfico, we'll talk about that in a second after we hit Galaxy Nashville. Real quick here, though, you mentioned Doyle. Look, Cincy have had the Union's number in a sense. June 18th, 1-1, Bedoya with the goal, Vasquez with the goal. Then August 6th, Cincy, 3-1 winners. Vasquez again, Brenner, Barreal, Aronson on the other side, Paxton. Big questions here. What is Alejandro Bedoya's status?
Yeah,
I think he's training away.
He played on decision day. He did play. He got like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, he came off the bench for 15.
Reports are though that he's training not in full training, sort of away from the. That could just be look. He knows his body. Yeah, he knows his body better than anybody else. Like, why push it? Why have it be an answered question for that Cincy coaching staff? But like we were talking about this game in the pre-show meeting, and I was like, yeah, well, it makes sense why Cincy plays well. It's not like it's like the fox has been in the hen house, so to speak. Pat Noonan's been game planning for Philly for years. He's been watching these players in training for years. He understands intimately the way that they want to play. Now he goes in the same conference, builds his own team, and is like, yeah, I analyzed losses and bad results for us. Like, on the flip side, I think I can figure it out on this side. What do you see from the matchup, Doyle?
Yeah, I don't know. I from Cincinnati, you probably think let's not change a thing because we have a way of beating these guys up. And it was like Vasquez's 2 best games of the year were against Philadelphia. He was so good at finding pockets of space, just off, between the strong side, center back and fullback, right? And coming to that pocket of space and then receiving with a defender on his back, controlling and either drawing a foul or playing 1-2 touch to Lucho, and boom, it's off to the races. They did that a million times against Philadelphia. And if you're Pat Noonan, you're like, let's keep doing that. But at the same time, you're probably like, well, they have to be ready for that now. Jim Curtin is a pretty good coach. He's proved to be a pretty good coach for a really long time. He's also a very good defender, so he knows a lot about dealing with big, strong strikers who can hold the ball up. So, I assume that Philly's going to have some sort of wrinkle, but we've seen it repeatedly from the past couple of weeks from Cincinnati. Like, they have some guys at the back in Cameron and Miazga who are very good distributors. They're very good at playing up back through with the idea of pulling the opposing midfield up closer to them and then hitting the long ball directly to Vasquez's chest. Like, that is a pattern of play that works for Cincinnati. If you're Philly, you have to figure out how to stop that. You have to figure out at least how to dampen it, because if you don't, we've seen what the results have been this year.
From in the building at Red Bull Arena on Saturday, it felt like for much of the first half, I think Long and Sean Nealis man-marked the 2 forwards, and rather than trading them off, tracked them across and swapped each other. I think that's one of the ways you keep Vasquez from finding space, especially when you've pushed higher. I didn't have the best view in the second half because I was down on the field, so I didn't see if it continued, and maybe that was just circumstantial a lot of the time, but it felt like the 2 center backs were moving a lot. And listen, Elliott and Glesnes can cover in space. If Jose Martinez is going to get caught high and that's where Vasquez is going to find space, maybe that's the way you solve it. And you say, can anyone else sort of break through that gap? The wing backs don't really do it for Cincinnati, so it's Lucho Acosta there where you're worrying about.
Yeah, I would be worried about that. He gave Jose Martinez a tough time in those games. Martinez sometimes can have a tendency to dive in and win, and a lot of times he wins balls, but Acosta is a different type of player. He's so quick, he's so shifty. He'll turn you like a top. They just like spin you around, and he can really, really hurt you. So I think what that direct ball that Doyle's talking about into Vasquez, or playing a little bit direct into the channels to Brenner, it's really the one sort of underneath where it then connects to Acosta, where I think Philly can land themselves in some trouble.
By the way, Lucho is super strong too. That's another aspect of this that nobody really talks about, given his stature. Like, that dude is freaking strong.
Yeah,
he does not get knocked off the ball.
Yeah, but you made a point, Kalen. Brenner's got to make those runs into the channels. He wasn't doing that at all against New York, and I think that's part of the reason why they were so much better when Santos came on. So he's got to recognize that a little bit more if it's there. If Philly's selling out to stop, the Vasquez checking into space and playing, hold up for Lucho, then that should open up the chance for Brenner to go over the top and get a couple of those. Then maybe you can crack the Union open. And then on the flip side, for the Union, when they're on the ball, like David's right. They have that energy drink soccer to them. They love to go off of turnovers, but they're not a high pressing team. They don't bring their line all the way up the way Red Bulls do. It's more mid block or even low block at times. And they're really good at hitting, win the ball, hit 2 passes to get vertical. And then that verticality comes from the fullbacks and it comes from the forwards. And then Gazdag, sort of lurking underneath. That's how he ended up being a 20 and 10 guy. I don't see a need to change that from Philadelphia because whoever Cincy's playing against, they give up chances. In Philly, whoever they're playing against, they create chances. So I don't think that part has to be they don't need to reinvent the wheel there.
And it feels like this attack fits perfectly for Philly in that their fullbacks should dominate the 1v1 battles with Cincy's wingbacks. It should pull the wide center backs a little wider to support, which Ure and Carranza are very good at making the run into the side of the box there, where Gazdag comes for the pullback, or it's just Gazdag crashing for the cross from Kai Wagner or whoever it is on the right side, and Mbaizo probably in this one. So all of that feels like it should work in this matchup, and it should be a good game for Gazdag to find gaps when Noboto's not tracking him.
It's going to be a really fun game. Like we've talked about house money with Cincinnati. Go ahead and if you're playing a drinking game on that one, take a swig here. But what about Philly? We sort of alluded to it, and we'll talk more about this angle with LAFC of like the pressure to win. You've been at the top of the league for a while now. You haven't got over the hump with an MLS Cup. You have got a shield. How much pressure is there on Philly in this match, in these playoffs, Kalen? How much does this sort of like the measuring stick that they're going for? Like you got to win.
A ton. I would say there's a ton of pressure. I mean, they didn't win the Supporter Shield. So, they don't have that to hang their hat on. And they've already won the Supporter Shield in the past. And I think Doyle and I will fight forever over this. It's like, especially for teams that have the Supporter Shield, right? Then the next thing is MLS Cup. I would even include New England in that category too, where it's like you need to get this off your chest. Like you have to have this in your trophy case, and that's the next big challenge. And so I get a little concerned with. It's not that that Philly can't handle the pressure. I think this team is probably the best set up, and when I think of like a team with like the best culture or however you want to describe it, I feel like Philly is that to me. Like they have all that down. What I worry about, honestly, is just a larger conversation around the 1 seeds. And we'll talk about LAFC as well. But I always felt going into a match against the 1 seed when you've already played a playoff game is an advantage for the lower seed. Yes, you can say there's a shorter turnaround. I'm not too worried about that. I think this Cincinnati team has played in a meaningful do or die game on decision day, and then the next match to get into the next round. And now Brandon Vasquez has the confidence of coming in with a goal under his belt in a do or die match. He's proven something. Celentano, he's not just a rookie anymore. He's grown up, right? We've seen that over the season, but even in this match, Miazga, he's dialed in. Everyone is, Sergio Santos is buzzing. Like you just have that feeling of showing up to training, and then you're going up against Philadelphia, which is a familiar team that you've played well against. And you're like, we just beat these guys in August. Like we can do this. And so then you look at the Philadelphia team, who has been the better team for sure throughout the season. And I think is still the better team overall. But I think it's tough sometimes when you have to kind of switch that light on and say, okay, we have to do this. We saw this happen with New England last year. And just like that little bit of a switch, it took them a while to get going against NYCFC. And then that was the end for them. They fought to make it hard at the end, but I think that's the danger part. The one thing I will say is it's a shorter break this year than last year. Last year, there was a crazy break due to the international window. Yeah. This one is shorter, so I think we might see potentially less of that.
Also, the Eagles are undefeated, so therefore everyone who comes into Philly is just intimidated at every moment of their life because Philly fans are at their full capacity.
Oh, God, don't even talk to me about Jalen Hurts right now. All right, I don't know anything about the NFL, but I was able to pull that one out. Predictions, please. I have Cincinnati. Bold from the start, baby. I got Cincy. Anybody standing with me?
Are we making picks now, or are we saying what we did in our Brown
You could say what you did, but you could disagree with your past self if you'd like.
I have Philly in both. So
smashing.
Everything Kalen said is right, and Philly's going to be up 2-0 in 12 minutes.
Okay. Cool. Anybody else? We've got 1-1.
I'm staying Philly. I'm staying Philly, and not so much because of the goal output. I still think this is it's the elite defensive unit. They've only given up 25 goals this season, which is just still a mind-boggling number. And I think that ultimately, as you go through the playoffs, I think that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, I'm sticking Philly as well. Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm good. I'm out on the limb, baby. Write a haiku about this when it goes my way. All right, Galaxy 1, Nashville 0, going to the Western Conference. Ricky Puig is obviously legit. Awesome, fun. Unfortunately, that goal Chicharito scored for Galaxy fans and those of us that love aesthetically pleasing soccer like Doyle. Unfortunate that one started with a foul, so it got pulled back. But Julian Araujo and his pink hair got the job done. Skied at the back post, header down, Galaxy win. On to El Tráfico, a gift for all of us who were looking forward to that rivalry. We'll talk about Nashville in a second, but what did this mean for the Galaxy, Doyle? It's their first time back in the playoffs since 2019. You will also remember, by the way, in 2019, their season ended in an El Tráfico playoff game against LAFC 5-3. But this is a different Galaxy team, like altogether.
Yeah, it's a lot different. They're tougher, and I think they showed that down the stretch, right? They took 10 points from their last 12 to qualify and to get a home game. That was not a given at any point. They have a clear ideology of how they want to use the ball. They are one of the heavy possession teams in the league. They hit the most line breaking passes in the league as per Opta. They're
Mark
really
Delgado is third in MLS in breaking
total
lines.
pass in
breaking lines. Yeah.
And Delgado's basically he's their Ali Bedoya. Nobody notices him, but he's so good and he's freaking everywhere. And he's a perfect complementary piece to Puig and Brugman, who are we're going to talk about midseason additions when we talk about El Tráfico. The Galaxy got their midseason additions really, really right. So they're tougher up the spine. That includes central defense. They were just miles better. And they went out there and they imposed their will all over the game. They tried to give it away. Bond tried to give it away really early to Teal Bunbury. And then Hani had a chance, 50 seconds into the second half, and Bond actually made a good save on that one. So there's still some fragility there. There's still some questions about secondary goal scoring because there's nobody you really trust to put the ball in the back of the net.
Julian Araujo?
Yes, exactly.
It's Dan Jovovich, actually. That's their secondary goal scoring.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? They have to change their shape. They have to change their structure in order to get a secondary goal scorer onto the field, which is a red flag. But they played really good soccer down the stretch. They played really good soccer in this game. Nashville only came there to play against the ball. They were never in the game. If they had won, it would have been an injustice. It would have been a crime against the sport.
Oh God! I love that my bracket matches your ethics, Doyle. I'm really feeling that.
I wish my own bracket did. I picked Nashville to make it all the way to MLS Cup.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, did we all pick this game right as well? Because we talked about the last game.
No, we
didn't. But Kalen and Doyle, you guys picked Nashville 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't have the brackets on.
Would you call this maybe a bracket buster? Perhaps.
Okay, I will say I am extremely disappointed in Nashville. I just thought their approach was so negative. And I know their manager wasn't able to make it. It looked like they played a man down on the pitch. It was just sitting back the whole time. I remember watching it in the group and being like, so is the plan to just do this and hope that none of these crosses end up in the back of the net? I was just like, what was the shift? Not starting Dax McCarty was a strange one for me. I just didn't understand that. Schaffelberg, I think, has been really good for them. He's one of their only dynamic pieces that can beat somebody. And then their only answer late was asking him to go coast to coast or beat 2 or 3 guys and try and create something.
Don't worry, they brought on Annabelle Godoy and Luke Hackison when they needed a goal in the 82nd minute. So that was the game.
I mean, I guess the game plan in a sense was just you hope that you get 1 or 2 chances, and that's Teal Bunbury's look that he didn't finish, and then the early one with Hani in the second half. But to me, that's undervaluing who I think Nashville can be, and I think it's overvaluing who the Galaxy are.
Kalen, it's undervaluing who they were last year during that playoff run, right? They played they're always going to be an English team. That's who Gary Smith is as a manager. He wants to absorb pressure. He wants to get out into the open field. It's fine. You can do that without being completely negative. And we saw them do that for 2 straight playoff runs. There was none of that to be found in this game. It was abysmal.
Yeah. I think the only way, if you allow the Galaxy just to have, you concede in the entire possession to them, they have good players. They have you get Puig and Brugman and, Delgado and these guys with the ball, they're going to be dangerous. And then eventually, they drove those 3 center backs and tried to account for Chicharito in the box. But eventually, once you condense on one guy, they're either going to drop it to the top of the box, who was Puig, who I think might actually be their secondary goal scorer in this bunch. And then Araujo, who made a really clever run, actually, because he's generally the one serving that ball on the right-hand side and makes a pretty smart play where he begins the play and then finishes it on the back post. But it just felt like Nashville were just always waiting to die. And I think they could have given more than that.
Oh, waiting to die. Okay. We'll talk,
my bracket.
Yeah, we'll talk.
We'll talk them to the final.
What bracket? What bracket, Kalen? I thought we didn't have that bracket. You don't remember that bracket?
That's right. It's been buried.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk more LA here in a second as we hit El Trafico. Let's just finish on Nashville. Hani Mukhtar, incredible season. I think an MVP season. I think for all the reasons we've sort of talked about here, his ability to carry this team for most of the regular season and put them in the position that they were. I mean, it's not single-handed, but sometimes it was sort of single-handed. Does it make you second guess? Because I think we all said on our show we were voting for Hani. Is there any second guessing as to Hani Mukhtar for MVP? When you see Driussi score goals and take Austin on, no second guessing. Just
no. It's a regular season award. Hani Mukhtar was the best and most valuable player. This is one of the 10 best seasons in league history, by not just the box score stuff, but by all the advanced metrics. And just what does the word valuable mean? It's what Hani Mukhtar gave this team this year. The worrying thing from Nashville's perspective is in the history of this league, only one player has ever had 2 seasons as good as what Hani Mukhtar did. That was Joseph Martinez in 2018 and 2019. No one else has had 2. Giovinco didn't. Vela hasn't done it. No, Landon Donovan didn't have 2 regular seasons this good. So you can't count on him to be 23-11 next year. You have to figure out some other way to be good. They never even came close to that.
Also, I don't think it was disproven that Nashville being 5th in the West, when you watch them play in that game, only proves even more how valuable he was to their team, where Driussi played at home against RSL and just sat around waiting for knockdowns, and he scored a penalty. And listen, he was what they needed him to be that day, and he was good. But Hani's role is even tougher, I think, in Nashville than what Driussi's is in Austin. And then you watch this game, and it's like, if Hani wasn't there, I don't know that we would have known Nashville showed up. So that doesn't take away from me thinking he was that player. And obviously, as Doyle said, the numbers in the regular season already exist for themselves.
The Atlas of MLS in a way. Couldn't carry the world on his shoulders. In this match, Galaxy going. You like that?
The head in the house here, the Atlas. Whoa. I brought haikus up and Weevy's just having a day.
Whoa. All right, let's talk El Trafico. We waited somehow 50 minutes for that. Boy, this is out of character for extra time. We've got to check on ourselves here. This is the late game on Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1. You'll already be on FS1 because you'll have watched Philly, Cincy, and that's going to be an amazing match as well. But come on, it's El Trafico. Look, in April 2-1, Galaxy win. Chicharito, Koulibaly, Arango gets the goal as well. On the LAFC side, we have a U.S. Open Cup matchup this year in May. Galaxy won that one 3-1. Guess who scored? Chicharito, Joveljic, Cabral, Hollingshead on the other side. And then in July, on the 8th, LAFC, the 3-2 win. Cifuentes, 2 goals. He got a little bit of a breather on decision day. Arango scores. Grandsire, Raveloson is no longer with the Galaxy. We do also remember 2019. Galaxy, I think, knocked off Minnesota, if I remember right, and then went on to lose 5-3 in a crazy, crazy game to LAFC. Ibra scored in that one, so that's how different these teams are at this point. Here's the big question. I'm going to throw it to you, Doyle. You've got years. You've got a grasp of history in this league. Is this the biggest rivalry game ever in MLS?
Oh God, Weeby.
He waited 50 minutes.
Pass.
He waited 50 minutes.
Pass.
It's
How
really,
can you pass?
that's a tough one to set up while explaining that they've already played in this round of the playoffs.
Do you mean
before.
in the playoffs or like?
I mean ever.
No. Well, if you look at the playoffs, I mean, there's a ton. You could go to Seattle, Portland. I think 2018.
Yep.
2003. Going deep was the Galaxy against San Jose match. That was insane.
The Rodrigo Faria comeback.
Yeah.
Isn't the correct answer MLS Cup 2013 RSL SKC, the Benny Feilhaber Kyle Beckerman rivalry?
Like, that's no joke, man. That game was axe handles and machetes at 10 paces.
And everyone's still mad about it.
What would that RSL squad, like, you put that, they walk into a bar and Aurelian Collin and Jimmy Nielsen are standing in that bar, we might have a fight.
Instantly.
Like, and Roger Espinoza comes out of the bathroom, they're like, that it's on.
But Roger's covering less
on
ground
site.
these days.
Yeah.
But the biggest one has to be Toronto, Montreal in what was that?
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
No, was it 16 or 17?
I thought it was 16.
16, yeah. It was 16 because Montreal won it. Remember, the lines were off and Montreal went on and Toronto FC, their season ends.
That is incorrect.
Oh, yeah. So that was 16. So
2015.
That's how much of a Montreal stan I am.
Yes, 2015 Montreal beat TFC with Drogba. 2016 was 2 legs.
Right.
The paint and stuff was the first leg. Toronto went home, won the second game, lost an MLS Cup. 2017, they beat Columbus in the Eastern
Got it. Okay.
Finals.
First of all, I can't believe, as a native Montrealer, Quebecois man, that you would say it was the Drogba game and not the Patrice Bernier game because he scored in that as well.
Yeah, the legend.
But the next match, that back and forth. I was at the second leg in Toronto, and that was the one where it was just madness.
Okay. I think the first game ended 4-2. Josie scored twice in the end to keep them alive, and then they won in the second game.
How about this? What could make this the biggest rivalry game in the history of MLS?
I think when you look at, especially the last game, this is clearly a new era for the Galaxy. They are capable of winning an MLS Cup. That wasn't the case in the past. It was, maybe Zlatan and Jonah, the 2 best players on the field today. We get fortunate, they're able to power us through. But like now you legitimately look at a Galaxy team that, as Doyle talked about with the Nashville game, they know how they play. They know who they are. Puig is, however long he'll be there, the face of the team and sort of what it's all built around. And then you've got a Julian Araujo, a local kid who scores the goal. He's a Mexican international. He's going to be in this game. It's Vela versus Chicharito. So I get what you're saying. It has that potential. It has to be played at a high level and has to be, have some of those legendary moments. And that wasn't the case last time, even with the high goal scoring, because it didn't feel like Galaxy ever had a chance in that game. And that's kind of what you're looking to see in this game. And they should, because I think LAFC will sit off. Not completely, but that's probably the expectation here. And they should. That's the best way for them to win, is to try and hit this Galaxy team in transition, to try and open up the game a little bit so that their guys can run at pace at these center backs who struggle to defend 1v1, to try and force Brugman to recover and make tackles from behind, and to fill the space that Edwards and Julian Araujo will leave, because that's their game. Their game is to be effective in the attack. They are not defense-first fullbacks. And so you look at Bouanga, you look at Vela, you look at Arango, whoever it'll be, there's going to be space for them to play if that's how they play it. And Cherundolo's been happy to do it in big games.
Are we sure that Vela's going to be playing? He came off injured on decision day.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have anyone to replace him if he wasn't, too. There's no depth on that roster.
Opoku, Teo.
Yeah. No,
By the way, Gareth Bale starts and scores or they win because of that. Weeby, there's your answer. That now elevates this game.
Weeby will be on cloud 12
if he scores, but then the Galaxy win to keep my bracket perfect. End LAFC's season when they went all in on finally getting Cup. Oh, that might be the spice we need. We talked about pressure for Philly. Anders asked the question. We had a big debate about it in our pre-show meeting. So I'll ask it again, and we'll see if we can have the same passion we had there. What is the legacy of this LAFC team if they go out of the playoffs to the Galaxy after all of these moves that they made? What's at stake for them?
I think that if it ends like that, then there'll probably be a big league-wide rethink about how to approach the summer transfer window and how to approach the possibility of adding players like Gareth Bale and Giorgio Chiellini. I still think they were no-brainer signings. I don't think that the reason LAFC have struggled is because they added Bale and Chiellini. I mean, Bale's barely played. But like there will be a meticulous autopsy if LAFC doesn't win MLS Cup, and they'll deserve to be, because just in terms of raw talent, on paper talent, like I don't think we've ever seen a team like this.
But we've never seen a team that was in their position add like this. Like when you talk midseason acquisitions, you're talking about Brugman, you're talking about Andres Kubas, you're talking about Pozuelo. Like you're talking about teams that need kicks to bring players in. It's very rarely, oh yeah, we're at the top of the world, this roster is perfect, now we're going to bring in all those pieces. So I get what Doyle's saying, and I think it will give teams pause. But a normal team that brings Bale into MLS, a la TFC this year, they're doing it to save their season. They're not, or it's built in where it's going to happen at midseason, and it's not to try and get you over the top. So I think that's a little bit different. I will say, I don't know, and I've been talking to people more about this recently. I think we have to connect a bit more Bob Bradley to Cherundolo. I think what this error is, it's Vela. And if they lose this game to the LA Galaxy, that might be their legacy. And I think last year, now we can say, was a blip, that this is a club that's had this sort of run over the last few years. If they don't win MLS Cup this year, I think that's what happens in terms of what the outlook of this game is. Because let's be real, Rodriguez already gone. Cifuentes is probably gone next year. Kellen Acosta might be gone next year. I don't know what Arango's future is. I don't know if they can get something for Quadru Poco. Is Diego Palacios back? Like, there's a lot of pieces that could be gone from this team next year that I don't know that you'll connect it to the ones in the past.
Can I take a different approach here? I just think it doesn't. I'm not sure if it would give me a full rethink of like it's in such a big scale of the way you like build a roster. I would just say it kind of reaffirms to me that the best team doesn't always. It would reaffirm to me that the best team doesn't always win MLS Cup,
but it always wins the Supporter Shield.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree with that. It always wins the Supporter Shield, but it doesn't always win MLS Cup. That's what it would explain to me.
That was like LeBron coming down the court and getting the block. He's like, nobody sees him coming, but here I am slamming it off the backboard. Let's go.
In the regular season, but not in the playoffs. That's the version of that. It's like I'm talking about the playoffs, right? And so if you want to, like, it's I don't think I took the L there. I think just I don't see the Supporter Shield in the same way that I see MLS Cup, and I think that LAFC's goal is to win MLS Cup.
I don't think LAFC sees it in the same way.
In which way? How do you?
I think they see it the way you see it, which is like, hey, that was nice, but it's an incomplete.
I disagree.
I think what they're trying to do is
they had never won Shield, they wouldn't feel that way.
I think it's more ambitious than that.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they don't value Cup.
I'm not saying they don't value it.
Vela said it means nothing if we don't win MLS Cup. Like literally 3 seconds after hoisting the shield up, they asked him on TV.
He frisbeed it to the side.
Frisbeed it to the side. He said it doesn't mean anything if we don't win.
Did he go outside Ultimate Frisbee style or inside Taurus at a Beach style?
Ooh,
I'm just trying to see if he'd fit in
personality-wise.
He's from Cancun, so I'm assuming he's played some Ultimate Frisbee.
Okay, I'm just seeing if he'd fit in at Brandeis or not.
Probably not a lot of that thing's stable. It's got some carry to it.
Oh man,
think he's like a disc golf guy? I don't know.
I think they're trying to do both. I saw them in Houston. I was there after they lost, and it was feeling like the trophy was slipping away, the Supporter Shield, and I could feel the team was upset. And not only that, I think they wanted to go after the points record as well. I think this team is trying to do something actually a little bigger than we've seen in the past, which I personally admire in the fact that you don't have to necessarily separate them. You want to go for one and you want to go for the other, and they want to go for CCL. Like, they're trying to do it all. And I think that's where the additions of Bale and Chiellini came in. And I think they've been actually pretty smart about saying, I'm going to set this to the side. I know, Charlie, on the Thursday show, all you guys talk so much trash about the Monday show.
And not
But
us,
the Thursday
that's
show,
That's literally just
Chuck
Charlie.
thinks that
I love the Monday show.
No, I got involved this week.
You did. I did. I
The
saw
picks
that.
were bad.
Yeah,
you guys are making me look bad.
I'm
so I have to be
listening.
like, Charlie, these guys, am I right?
And I know Chuck's writing an article, I think, for MLS on Bale and like how he's going to be this big thing. I actually think he's a player who's going to be on the bench. I think he's going to be coming off the bench more. And I think that's the best position for LAFC for them to win. I think he can be an impact player off the bench, but if Vela's out, maybe I'd think twice about that. But with their first team, I don't see that happening. And Chiellini, I think they have a good rotation. I think he's probably off the bench as like an option too, although they've started him a bunch and then taken him off partway through the match. But I think those additions have been made with the idea of making the team better. Is as we've seen through the stretch of the playoffs, the depth has been tested already, and just in the first round has made a difference. And I think that's more where I see some of the additions they've made coming in and trying to make the difference. But I think they're trying to do both.
They got to do it, though. Haven't done it in the playoffs yet. 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes, Thursday. It's the nightcap after Philly, Cincinnati. Let's keep these predictions short. I got the Galaxy. Team Chaos, differentiator, trying to get those points.
I have Nashville SC.
I also have Nashville SC.
Good stuff. Yes, Anders. If you're watching on YouTube, Anders has procured the big red X's for these brackets. Tough to see. Oh, tough to see for you guys. Anybody else? Anybody else going Galaxy? Going against the grain, or are we all? Everybody else saying LAFC? I stand alone once again.
David's muted.
Yeah, it was a very. It sounded eloquent.
I've been yelling the whole time too. That's great. It's made me nervous talking about it, especially what Kalen talked about with Philly. The weight, the not played the one game, the pressure, all of that I think is actually amplified for LAFC. So that all makes me nervous, and the Galaxy sort of looking like themselves in a playoff game, because you don't know what you've seen in the regular season will translate, not because it won't work, but because sometimes teams panic and go away from it. But will Samuel Grandsir or Kevin Cabral or Douglas Costa finish a chance? Because I think it has to be in this matchup more than just Chicharito and Ricky, and I don't think they will.
Douglas Costa, the $6 million man.
Mm-hmm.
The hard thing to predict in this one is that there's always just this extra element of chaos between these two teams, where it just goes like it goes nuts. Which I'm excited about at this point. And to have my bracket go bad, like this is a nice consolation prize of being like, oh yeah, like this is El Tráfico. This is going to be like an incredible match.
So it's me standing alone at the Galaxy. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I'll pick the Galaxy too. That's fine.
I'm gonna go with LAFC in this one. And the thing is I think they're gonna ask a lot of different questions that Nashville never did. And sometimes I think when the Galaxy get into trouble is they split into kind of, it's changed with Brugman coming in and Puig to have them more balanced. But if you can get them more like 4, and we saw this earlier with the Galaxy, they'd be like 5 attackers, 5 defenders. And I think if you start to ask some more questions of that Galaxy back line, I don't know. I think if they can actually get them moving and get into open space, I think LAFC is gonna. I think they'll win. I think they'll get through this one.
3-2 Galaxy, Chicharito hat trick. He holds up a sign afterwards that says, "Are you watching, Tata?"
Oh my God.
While wearing clown makeup, just to troll both San Jose.
Yeah, you got to watch out, man. The shrine, all these candles that I have lit, they're flickering. They're flickering right now. So that thing got some good energy in the room. All right, Thursday night, FS1. Let's talk about the other 4 games. We'll preview them more on Friday because we have an opportunity to look ahead to those conference semifinals that'll go down on Sunday. Those, of course, Montreal, New York City FC on ESPN at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and then at 8 p.m. Eastern, Austin hosting Dallas in a Copa Tejas matchup, also on ESPN. What's the game between Dallas, Minnesota, Austin, RSL, Montreal, Orlando, or New York City, Inter Miami that you guys want to hit the most? First draft pick goes to David Goss. Which one do you want to do?
You got to decide.
Oh my gosh!
I just did a show about all of them. Listen to MLS Today. Search MLS Today on Spotify.
Wow. The man can.
The one we should talk about the most is NYCFC 3-0.
There we go.
Because
there you
go. First of all, I didn't think they could play that well without Keaton Parks. He has elevated them so much whenever he's been on the field. Like their on-off splits with him on the field this year are absurd. He didn't start in this game. Didn't matter. They just ripped, other than the first 10 minutes, they just ripped Miami apart. And that second goal that NYCFC scored was 26 passes, ending with that incredible run from Santi, the diagonal across the box to create depth just as Tinnerholm is coming. He's suddenly dribbling laterally 35 yards out, and he slips him through. And then at the same time, Maxi's making a run directly into Santi's wake for what a goal. That encapsulates what NYCFC can be and have been in the past at their best. We haven't seen a lot of that since June. Seeing it in this game and seeing it for without Keaton Parks, who is now presumably going to be 100% fit and rested to play on the weekend.
Which I don't think is a guarantee. Cushing after the game, he sort of said Keaton Parks is a starting best 11 player, but I need to find a way to get him in. Okay. And part of that was Nicolas Acevedo was fantastic in this game and better both ways than he's been for a while. But I agree with you. To get to steal a game, quote unquote, without having to have him play 90 minutes was big for NYCFC.
That, and then the other thing is Eber, I thought was really, really good on both sides of the ball. I was happy for him that he got that late goal. I thought he deserved it for the amount of work he put in. And I just think that NYCFC is better when they have a true forward in there. And they've been rolling with Talis Magno since Tati left in June. And I don't like to see anybody get hurt, but it might be a little bit of good fortune just in terms of this playoff run to be forced to use a true number 9. And I thought NYCFC performing at this level means that NYCFC is a legitimate threat. And I wasn't sure they were going to get there again. Yeah. Once Tati left, once Dyla left, I wasn't sure that they were going to get there again. They sure were there in this game, man. They were really impressive.
And I would add to that, even to me, they won MLS Cup because of their defense, right? Chanot and Collins were elite. James Sands was a huge part of that. Sean Johnson as well. They looked that way again last night.
Yep.
And I think Pozuelo wasn't 100%. That's part of it.
Correct.
No, Leo Campana hurts their shape and hurts their threat. But Collins was unreal at left center back. Kevin O'Toole didn't have to defend because he did all of it. Thiago Martins has looked a lot better as well. Chanot, I don't know that he's 100% who he was last year, but I think that's okay.
He's good enough.
With the way they're set up. And Tinnerholm looked back. And
that was a big thing. Yeah.
And he said, I've been waiting for this, and I feel like I'm 100%. That's what he said to me the moment I pulled him over. So I think that was bigger to me for NYCFC because the floor, the stage, whatever it is that they build the rest on, that's there. And if Santi Rodriguez plays this way and Maxi plays this way, like they've done it before.
Gabby Pereira.
Yeah, that finishes under. He's scoring a goal every, half a goal a game, basically.
Yeah.
He's overperforming the XG, but he's got quality. Now, does he? Kevin O'Toole, true luxury player. I just want to throw it out there. Absolutely.
Everyone else go defend for me.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin's going, guys. Kevin's going. I'm going. I'm making the run. You guys, you cover me.
But it pained Yedlin, and Yedlin wasn't a factor going the other way, and he has been all year. There was a lot that NYCFC did well in this game, and it felt being there and talking to them after the game and being around them like they all sort of were like, yep, this is who we are, and this is our time of year, and we're back.
We had our resident Gonzalo Higuain impersonator and Doyle give his thoughts on Pepita last night. Let's impersonator number 2, David.
I'm surprised they filmed the right guy after the match. Honestly, I'm concerned.
Hey, Dave's like, why are you following me around with the camera? Get that camera out of my face. What did you see sort of in person? And how did it feel in stadium, the final game of Gonzalo Higuain?
I think when you cover big games, it's emotional for players, and it's emotional for the groups around players, and it sort of seeps into you. This was something I've never experienced before. Like Phil Neville came into the post-game press conference like he got hit by a bus, and he didn't say, oh, we lost, big playoff game. He literally said what I just went through in the locker room with Gonzalo, the emotional things that just happened, I've never experienced before in the locker room. So that's sort of, I think it's a testament to who he is as a person, the relationship he has with people. And I think we can all say this from what's happened the last few weeks, everyone's lived vicariously through him of falling in love with soccer again and the arc he's been on. Yeah.
Amazing.
And everything he's been through, let's just be real, the crap he gets online and the experiences with Argentina in big games and, moving around in Europe and finding his spot and then fan bases turn on you and all that. Like, you felt all of it. And so it was intense. It was intense, I think, for the NYCFC players when the game ended and giving him hugs on the field. It was definitely there for Miami players. And I think it was there in the media that people clapped for him when he was done. And so it was special and it was unique. And he is, I had to explain to someone who was shooting like why it was important. And you try and put the words together, and he's an all-time great player who has been in a spot few players have been in, right? With the finals he's played in, the level he's played at, the golden boots he's won, the records he's set. And he's handled himself in a really impressive way, and he's leaving on the right note. And I just, you talk about should he retire or not, like this is the right way to go. Go on top, go happy, go. He said he's going to live in Miami. Go out in a way in which those fans can celebrate you every day they see you. The club can bring you back and keep you connected in the right way. Like everything went right. But it was intense, and it was definitely for me a once in a lifetime experience to just be around it. So it was a night I won't forget.
At MLS on Twitter, you mentioned Mike Garabedian earlier in the show. He's a social guy for us. He was up close and personal with Gonzalo. So if you want to see what those last moments, the moments after the final whistle felt like, MLS Twitter has those really, really good footage there. Montreal, Orlando, 2-0 for Montreal. I mean, it took a while, but Montreal always looked like the team that was going to come out on top. They just had to find the space, the opportunity, the moment to sort of string those passes together and up the tempo to get through that Orlando defense. We talked about Ismail Kone. What a finish from him. What a little deke from Georgi Mihailovic coming into the box. Like, hey, I'm opening up my hips. I'm going back post. Antonio Carlos collapsed just a little bit, just enough. Yep. Slides it to Kone. Goal there. Of course, Georgie gets one from the spot. Enjoy these guys while you can. We know that Georgie's gone. Kone, I got to believe that he's gone in the offseason as well.
I thought it was a frustrating performance, and I actually thought Montreal was underwhelming for much of the game. Being in the bill, every time they were able to get into space or skip a pass or break a line, they slowed up and let Orlando recover. They weren't taking risks. Wanyama wasn't turning up field at all, which isn't really his game, but it reaches a point when you play along Sam Piette. Georgie didn't take anyone on 1v1 until that moment. And I think credit to Nancy to not panic. He moves Piette out wide to open up a little more space for Georgie. Credit to Georgie, Kai, and Kone for reading the moment. And that's why they're dangerous, because they can, not play at their best. But it was a little underwhelming that they didn't play their soccer as dangerously as they could through much of this stretch. But Orlando wasn't there to try and play. And so they kept them in it.
First playoff win for Montreal since 2016. Something like, it's been a while. It's been a long time, like 5 years or something. And now they've won 5 straight at Stade Saputo. They're going to be at Stade Saputo again, of course, with New York City in town. I just want to say the interview you did with Wilfried Nancy, wonderful. The jacket, the great swag. I started in academy coaching position, but now I'm here. Like he's a vibe. He's a vibe.
Yeah, he's great. You can see how easy it is to play for him. Like the way he explains the game makes you want to play for him. And then it just feels like he has that personal connection with so many of these players.
I spent a lot of time last night watching that Dallas Minnesota game, just thinking like, man, what would Wilfried Nancy do with a player like Emmanuel Reynoso? what would that guy look like in Minnesota? Or Montreal, rather.
I thought this was the most straightforward of all the matches in the first round. I thought this was the most straightforward one to predict that Montreal was going to win. I had a little different approach or read on the game. I actually just thought it was I thought Montreal played great, and I thought that they were just incredibly patient. The way they keep the ball, the way they draw people in, the way they pass and move, it was awesome to see. And the way they rotate the ball, and then finally pick their moment to find the right pass. Like NYCFC and Montreal to me were by far the two standout teams of the first round.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the fact that they're playing against each other and they both play like the best style in the league right now. And, that's no shade. I know LAFC and Philadelphia finished above both of them in the regular season. But I think just with the style of football that these guys play, the style of soccer these guys play, I'm just like, this is maybe I know there's, the Texas matchup, and then we've got the El Tráfico, but I think this one actually has the potential to be the best of all of them.
All right, let's talk Texas. Copa Tejas, Austin hosting Dallas. It's the final of our conference semifinals. The last one there, the fourth, and that'll set your conference finals, and on we go. Austin, oh boy, we said there was a possibility. I thought RSL was sort of a bogey team for them, and they go down 2-0 in like 10 minutes. And you're thinking, oh boy. Now, the flip side is Austin's been in that position before, so they're not saying, oh boy, they're saying, crap, like we got to do this again. They did do it again. They came back. It was a late penalty call that got them there very, very late in stoppage time in the second half to make it 2-2. And then as Jimmy Kay in Greensboro, North Carolina said, that's the worst series of penalties by a team I've ever seen about RSL. I can't believe Salt Lake played 120 minutes of gritty, hard football, that's with an umlaut, the football, only to fire off 2 lukewarm PKs and 1 apparent moonshot by Tate Schmidt.
Yeah, but that's not really fair. That's not really fair because RSL had to literally mortgage their house to try and make it to pens. So they had no attacking players on the field by the time they went to penalties.
Although when you're talking about fairness, Rubin did not need to slide from 45 yards.
Absolutely, yeah. That didn't help. But yeah, Silva took the penalty. Brody, who had an amazing chance late where he burst like 90 yards down the pitch and almost gets in on the keeper. I think Ojeda took one. And then Schmidt, who I think is their, not.
I mean, the fact that you put this is that email I read because it's funny, but there's no shade on Tate Schmidt. The fact that he's willing to go take that PK and he's in the position to need to go take that PK says something about the way that the game went down.
Zach McMath
and the approach
went down RSL. Kicking a goal kick. He was just gassed. That's how gassed this team was by the end.
I don't know if you guys talked about this. I mentioned it a bit with Jeff Ruder on my show, but to me, the most worrying thing about this performance from Austin wasn't the 2 goals conceded. It was that they completely went away from their own style for like almost the entire time they were man up, but at least all of extra time. I've never seen them hit that many crosses. They didn't wait for play to progress. They didn't try and use their patterns to pull RSL wide. They didn't try and get to the end line for cutbacks. It was just like pumping crosses into the box from the moment Jete got on the field and hoping for knockdowns, which, again, what I said about the Galaxy is like, you don't know teams are going to react to the playoffs the right way and be themselves. And that was worrying with Austin FC, who are the most dogmatic in MLS about the way they play with the ball and how much possession and the patterns that they want to use.
60 crosses on the day.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's too many. Like, 3 times too many. Yeah.
From where? It's not in any way their identity. And so that was really frustrating in watching it play out. And it almost worked, right?
And it can work in moment, but you go back to the patterns and you go back to the moments for it. It can work when they have areas to run downhill a little bit, like the Diego Fagundes ball where he cuts back inside and there's space in behind and you have multiple runners. And then Driussi can say, okay, you're fronting me. I'm going to make the near post run, and Diego has the quality. But if you're just whipping it into a static Jete
from deep areas,
I mean, he's like a target. It's like target practice. It literally is hitting him and going out. It's not going to. No, that's not going to be it.
Yeah, Rigoni missed a chance literally on the doorstep.
How?
It was just like one of the worst misses I've seen. Jete, I don't think he just was basically clogging up space. He wasn't creating anything, and that didn't help. So those two didn't work. The one that I think did work was Danny Pereira coming in, which
you mean
was
the starter on the team.
Bizarre to see that to see him not go from the start. I'm sure they'll learn from that, and he has to start in this next match. I mean, he just has to. So I thought was it Kolmanek? Yeah, he did well coming in. I thought was a good sub for Gallagher there. So I think there was some learnings there for Austin FC, but we've seen expansion teams in the past get to the playoffs like LAFC and Atlanta United and have learnings where it's like, all right, it's off season and have to learn the hard way. And I think for them to even escape this game, and yes, I don't think if Rubio Rubin doesn't get a red card, I think RSL goes through.
If Scott Caldwell doesn't try to block a shot by turning his back, they go through.
That was a tougher one for me. But yeah, I mean, like, it's tough to put it just on one thing. I
don't blame him at all. He's in his desperate moment. It's just that's the margins, man. It's like little tiny things, like you said before.
It's the worst thing for him, I'm sure, to sit and watch his team suffer for so long. But yeah, I think for them to learn like that and still be alive is, to me, is promising. Plus, they've got a bunch of their guys like Arruti and them pretty well rested because they came off at halftime.
Yeah, and I just think in general, what you come away from the game with, I think we'll see on Sunday, is like, this would be fun no matter what. Two teams, same state. The Q2 environment's going to take it to another level. Like, Sunday's going to be under the lights against Dallas is going to be wild. So I'm here for that.
Brad Stuver, by the way, you gotta love the moment for him. He was absolutely.
Did we have him third team best 11 or?
I think we had him fourth.
Yeah,
I'm glad I fought. Brad, I got you.
Yeah, he got hosed on the goalkeeper finalists, no doubt about that one. But you see him after he stands on his head, and that save off the crossbar, unbelievable! Like, crazy
he
stuff.
Right on all of them.
He should have had the first one.
I think the biggest moment of Sunday was that the research, video, and analytics team in Austin all just got a raise because the guy went right on every single shot. Someone's getting paid.
I think Stuver should probably be the first.
Yeah, he's probably first in line for that.
Stuver turning around to the fans and doing the like, look at me, I did this, was a really cool moment for a guy that's put a lot of time into the league and just only recently has got an opportunity to play.
I would have done that on the first.
It's Tim Melia 2.0, right? Tim Melia was a pool goalkeeper forever. Finally got a break in 2015, I want to say it was, with Sporting Kansas City, and spent 7 years being one of the best keepers in MLS. Stuver was a pool goalkeeper, was a deep reserve for the Crew, finally got a break coming to Austin ahead of last year. He was really good last year, tailed off in the second half of the season, but mostly really good. This year, like we said, fourth team, all MLS, and proving to be a match winner in the playoffs. It's a great story.
I love that we're like fourth team all MLS. We are making this official. Like, it's just us on the podcast just deciding it.
It's so much better than the actual best 11.
Like, hey, fourth team, baby.
What did Fagundes get? Was he second team?
Second team.
Yeah, second team.
Okay.
Yeah. He was deservedly so. Before we move quickly to Dallas, Minnesota, and finish this thing off, remember, of course, we'll have full previews of these Sunday matches on Friday's show. Did you guys see these Austin fans must have like T-shirt manufacturer connections? They're just churning out
the merch.
Did you see the guy in the Receipts T-shirt that has all of our preseason picks for Austin?
Go watch it, Kalen, because I am called David Glass. Then David, and then they go to say Gas.
The Royals did,
and they're like, forget it, and then they just call me David. So it's worth the watch.
I did see the clip going around of everyone at ACL at Austin City Limits watching the
that was sick.
The penalties. That was pretty cool.
That was tight. And Felipe Martin's tweeting, "Hate us now, all you doubters." Like, dude, you're the 2 seed. This is seven seed RSL. Everybody thought you would win.
Did anyone here pick RSL?
No.
Who dodoubted you?
I doubted them when they were down 2-0. And like,
I did fire off a bonus game tweet at that point.
You brought this on yourself.
All right, let's go. Let's quickly hit Dallas, Minnesota. We talked about it a ton on the post-game show, so you can go check that one out. It's on the MLS YouTube page. This one, the taco was the highlight of a lot of it. I'm not going to lie. It goes to PKs. We talked to Panenkas. Let's just strictly stick to Dallas. Doyle, what did you learn in this game? What do they need to maybe unlearn going into the next game?
They're trying to be a team like NYCFC or Montreal that use the ball for defensive purposes and for attacking purposes. They got the first part of that down really good. Mm-hmm. The second part, they cannot toggle between possession and penetration. The only one who really does that is Paul Arriola, and he was really good last night. Jesus Ferreira was lost. Velasco was pretty lost up until the Panenka. they have to find that switch. If they don't find that switch, then I think that this is probably where their playoff journey ends. And the other thing to note, as we said at the top, Arriola, Pomykal, both came off injured. I don't know if either or both will be available in this game. If they don't have those guys, I don't think they have a chance.
But Austin might do it for them. Austin's going to take the ball. If they're vertical and dangerous, they can be dangerous in transition. They weren't in this game. I agree with Doyle. I did think Servania was actually pretty good when he came on, but you don't ideally want, or you'd start him with guys you just want to be healthy to make the decisions.
We will have a lot more time, FC Dallas supporters, on Friday's show to look ahead to your match on Sunday in Austin. Copa Tejas, El Tráfico, Philly Cincy, NYCFC going to Montreal. 8 teams left. These are as juicy of the matchups as you can get. And only one of us picked them. So, and on that note, we'll say adios. We got the post-game show on Thursday night. Tune in on FS1 and also tune in to MLS Today the rest of this week. Adios, everybody. Enjoy your week. Congratulations, you made it through more than an hour of extra time. That means you love the show, and if you love the show, you probably want more episodes. Click right here for more episodes of Extra Time, and here to subscribe to the MLS YouTube channel. Thanks for following along.